You're right. Good morning. Welcome to the Yuba.
Recording in progress.
Right, sir. Welcome to the Yuba Water Agency Board of Directors meeting for Tuesday, February. Off with. Director Flores online. Can you guys hear me online?
I can hear you right now. Gary started to make an address and it was a bit choppy, so it cut out.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. Thank you very much. So we're doing roll call right now. Director Fleurs is here.
I am here, or not there.
Director Vasquez? Here. Director Blazer? Here. Director Bradford? Here. Director Matthews? Here. Director Fletcher? Here. And Director Hasty is currently absent. I think he's en route. Okay, so next is the Pledge of Allegiance. Director Matthews, will you lead us in that, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you. Next up is public comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair. But public comment is an opportunity for members of the public to address the Board of Directors on any subject matter that is not on the meeting agenda and is within the board's subject matter jurisdiction. Public comment periods are limited to 3 minutes per person, and the total amount of time for public comment is 15 minutes. Persons participating by way of a video conference or teleconference shall ensure their audio is muted at all times, except when the board chair announces public comment periods. At those designated times, members of the public wishing to speak shall enable their audio and state their name for the record. When multiple members of the public wish to speak, the clerk will determine the order of speakers and announce their names accordingly. To ensure proper conduct, the board reserves the right to mute the audio and video of any member of the public violating generally accepted principles and decorum of official public meetings. We'll take the public comment from the speaker card in the room first, if you would, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Marie, good morning.
Can you speak into the mic?
Does it work? Okay, thank you. Marieke Ferney, Oregon House, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I would like to use my 3 minutes to continue to advocate for a regional solution to the water crisis in the foothills, an idea that I first heard from Mr. Matthews a while ago. North Yuba has, since the 2005 agreement, permits for 23,700 acre feet to be put to beneficial use. These permits expire in 2040 if no infrastructure is built and not all of the water is beneficially used. This means an expansion in service is needed from a historically used 3,700 acre feet before 2011 up to 23,700. This is a big job. North Yuba is not getting it done. I think, my 2 cents, that our best bet of hanging on to those permits would be to get all 4 managers from BVID, North Yuba, South Feather, and Yuba Water Agency to work on it together as a team. This is what I see, or hope rather. The cheapest alternative for expanding conveyance dramatically is to allow South Feather's offer of fixing the Forbstown ditch to be accepted. This will cost about $1 million instead of $15 or $25 million for pipes of different sizes. BVID has a lot of experience with engineering the piping of the system and keeping the customers happy and could use more water for Collins Lake during the winter months. South Feather would like to use their irrigation from the Forbstown ditch to their maximum allotted 11 CFS and make their customers happy instead of holding back every year to 7 CFS so as to give the North Yuba customers a chance of service. North Yuba needs to help with planning and generating big, bold ideas to be able to hold on to the permits. Yuba City does not wish to lose the access to 4,500 acre feet that they buy from North Yuba every year when eventually North Yuba loses those permits. And Yuba Water Agency's amazing experience in the politics and working in partnerships could lead the way in brokering a regional solution. Altogether, you can find a solution to the cost of extra water, added customers will be a part of that. North Yuba budgeted and paid for some of the extra water they needed in 2012 and 2013. Thus, it is possible to find room in the budget. It used to be there, even before there was $5 million cash on hand, like in June 2021. Since then, $100 a month was paid to attorneys to try to silence aggrieved customers and the business partner. If they stop wasting money on attorneys, a solution could be found. When there's a will, there's a way. And where there's water, there will be food and farming and prosperity, like in our friend Stephen Dambeck's plan. Thank you very much for considering.
Great. Thank you. And Mr. Brueggemann?
Yes.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. My name is John Brueggemann. I'm a resident of Brownsville. I wanted to introduce myself to the Yuba Water Agency Board of Directors. I am the newly appointed Division II Director for the North Yuba Water District. And just say good morning, and I'm glad that you're allowing me to participate, listen in on your meetings, and look forward to opportunities to work on mutual agency and water concerns for the Yuba area. On a separate matter, on item number 5, I would like to give my support for the consideration of the Yuba Water Agency supporting the Watershed Protection and Fire Safety Council's Water Urban Interface Funds Program. The roadside clearance and dead fuel reduction is awesome for not only keeping our forests more thriving and more survivable, by way of fire reduction. And I hope the board will consider and adopt that joint sharing of the funds. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Congratulations on your appointment, and we appreciate you joining us this morning and introducing yourself.
Thank you very much.
Any additional public comment?
Seeing none online, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. So with that, we'll move on to the consent calendar.
Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Let's start with Director Fuhrer,
Yes.
Director Blazer,
Yes.
Director Matthews,
Yes.
Director Bradford,
Yes.
Director Vasquez,
Yes.
Director Fletcher,
Yes.
and we note Director Hasty is absent.
Oh, he's here.
Hey, how did he sneak in? Sorry. Director Hasty, answer is yes.
Yeah.
That's 7-0, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. So next we will move on to discussion items. So first up is item 3, consider adoption of resolution 2022-04, calling for the June 7th, 2022 primary election for the South Division elected director position and requesting consolidation of the election with the county primary election in 2022 and for consolidation of all future elections of the North and South Division director positions with primary and general elections. Looks like you're up, Jim.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members. Jim Attrition, your clerk of the board. Director Bradford kind of summarized this entire agenda item and as it's written appropriately. I'm really just here for any questions you may have. You may have seen this over the years. We're just, the one change here is the consolidation for future elections. So we have that a little more streamlined as preferred by the registrar of voters in particular.
Any comments or?
Mr. Chairman.
So moved. Okay. Is there? Okay.
Through the chair, if we don't do this, I just get to stay here without an election.
I'll take that as a rhetorical question.
Okay. We have
who was the second?
I think it was Director Fletcher. Yeah. So any public comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, if there is no additional board comment, then roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Let's start with Director Bradford.
Yes.
Director Vasquez.
Yes.
Director Matthews.
Yes.
Director Blazer.
Yes.
Director Hasty.
Yes.
Director Fuhrer.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And Director Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Thank you. Next up is item 4, receive update on grant and loan assistance to Three Rivers Levee Improvement Authority at as local cost share for the North Training Wall project. Morning, Ryan.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ryan McNally, your Director of Water Resources and Flood Risk Reduction. So before you this morning is just an information only item to give you an update on the a series of grants and loans that were given to TRLIA since 2019 and their use towards being leveraged in applying for a Prop 68 grant. So since 2019, the Water Agency has given TRLIA $3,050,000 in grants, but 500,000 of that has been in a loan. So there's one loan that's due in full June 30th of 2029, I believe, if I remember correctly. So TRLIA's intent as for the North Training Wall implementation of phase 2 is to go to DWR for a Prop 68 grant and leverage this, all these funds toward local cost share. This would count as local cost share. So the reason this is before you this morning is just an informational update on 500,000 of that is loan. So if successfully awarded this grant, there is a potential for TRLIA to return to Yuba Water to have that loan forgiven as local cost share. So I'm not seeking action this morning. It's just information only and opportunity to ask questions.
Any questions from the board?
No.
If they get the grant, this is certainly a fantastic thing, and I hope and pray that we get to forgive this loan.
Yep. Okay. Seeing no additional comments, we'll move on to item 5. Thank you. Okay, item 5, consider approval of a cost share for a grant of up to $240,000 to the Yuba Watershed Protection and Fire Safe Council for the Yuba Foothills Wildland Urban Interface Fuels Reduction Project. So I think we have Joanna Lassard is going to do this morning. Good morning, Joanna.
Good morning, everyone. Joanna Lassard, Project Manager, Yuba Water Agency, and I lead our Watershed Resilience Program. So this project is for a grant application to CAL FIRE for their fire prevention grant program. It's due next month, or actually it's next week, rather. So this project leverages a previous grant awarded by the board to conduct CEQA for this project that's actually been under development for a few years to do quite large roadside clearance in the foothills. You all may be aware that most of the fires that are ignited are along roadways. So this project would reduce the risk of fire as well as providing the added benefit of protection of evacuation routes in the case of a fire. So this project was developed specifically to address those two needs. This would include just one phase of that roadside clearance. When the staff report was first put together, there was an additional task to reduce dead and dying trees, as well as complete the phase 1 of the roadside clearance. We've had to remove that task from this grant application, primarily because the CEQA coverage was uncertain, and we think that it's a more competitive project to just focus on the roadside clearance. So we've removed that task. We're going to continue to work on that project and separate grants for that. So we're not ignoring the dead and dying tree issue, but just there was a late amendment from when the staff report was first put together. So this grant application is just for phase 1 of the roadside clearance, and our cost share would help add would give a competitive edge to Yuba Fire Safe Council's application, and it would help cover some of the administrative costs and project management associated with working with a registered professional forester to implement phase 1 of the project. If there are any questions, Allison Thompson, the executive director who will be leading this project for the Fire Safe Council, is also online.
Great. Any questions from the board or comments?
Comments through the chair. Joanna, great job. I think this is a great start. There's a lot to be done. I'll tell you, this year concerns me with the dryness today, then tomorrow, the wind, the potential for wildfire exists right now. So having said that, and I don't see a lot of comments, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
We're all here.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay. And so next, thank you, Jenna. Next, I guess we'll move to, is there a reason closed session appears above manager's report, or is it? Okay. So let's just go ahead with manager's report then.
Okay, good morning, board. Well, here we are. New Bullard's Bar is at about 628,000 acre feet. That's about 98% of average year to date. That's 106% of average year to date. Our inflow and snowpack are both 98% of average year to date and decreasing. We don't see any snow in the forecast in the next 10 days, which is a bummer. January precipitation ended at near record low amounts, with most places in the watershed seeing only around one inch very early in the month. 117% of normal precipitation, but losing ground fast as dry conditions persist. Note, if it did not rain at all the rest of the season, we'd wind up below the 2019 and 20 water year of 31.7 inches. And obviously February and March will be critical determining what water year we land in. Around Lake Francis, last summer and in the fall, we had a bunch of trees die due to the drought conditions. We've been removing those trees as they're identified, but they continue to die. I think we removed around 100 trees on our property there, and we have about 150 more to remove. So that work is ongoing. We just came out of the Colgate unit number 1 annual outage. We completed it last week. Everything was successful, and that unit is returned to service. And flows below Inglebright Dam are currently at the minimum for regulatory flows and conservation. So we are currently hiring a handful of positions, including elect tech, supervising elect tech, senior hydro engineer, and procurement supervisor. And we've already conducted interviews for our human resources manager. Jackie Silman is making visits to Yuba County first responders. In her travels, she is leaving the no spark tow chain covers, and a reminder that the Bill Shaw Rescue Equipment and Training Grant application period is March 1st through April 1st. Collaboration continues with Yuba County businesses and education leaders on academic and technical skills needed to strengthen our local workforce. In the continuing efforts to increase connections with industry, Jackie is gauging interest from Yuba County businesses willing to partner with our continued technical education opportunities. On March 9th, the Marysville Joint Unified Career Technical Educators will head out for a day of industry engagement. Rachel Downs, Business and Community Engagement Manager for the County of Yuba, and agency staff will also participate. We continue to support ongoing broadband efforts with Ian Scott, our County Broadband Manager, in requesting shovel-ready projects from broadband providers. Work includes construction of a communications tower and procurement of a communications hub to be located at the Yuba County Airport, a project that will support the rebuild of the corporation yard currently underway. The employee engagement team hosted the first annual blood drive at the agency. We had 24 volunteers, of which 18 were eligible to donate, potentially saving 54 lives. A huge part of what makes Yuba Water amazing is the sense of community and charitable spirit our entire staff has. A big thanks to all participants and the blood drive coordinators, Lakin Shatner, Mandy Nix, and Andrea Armstrong. Communications and community relations. Last week, we were called out in a good way for our efforts in forest health in an article in The Hill, a DC newspaper about policy and politics. The entire month of January, we were really emphasizing all the good work we've done to reduce flood risk since the 1997 flood 25 years ago. Ryan McNally deserves a shout out for making the rounds to radio stations, Rotary and Kiwanis clubs and city council meetings on top of his normal duties. His final public presentation on this topic for now will be tonight at the Marysville City Council meeting. Our upcoming sponsorships include the Chamber Gala on February 18th, and our next board meeting is February 15th.
Great, thank you. Any questions?
Through the chair, Willie, what are we doing with the wood when we cut the trees down?
So a bunch of the material has been given to the Army Corps of Engineers to place below Inglebright for their habitat projects. At some point, we're going to have too much, so we're looking for a home for that. You know, the sawmills aren't purchasing the wood. A lot of it has blue stain rot, so we don't know at this point with some of it.
The only thing I was thinking is when this last snow hit, there was a lot of donation of firewood, and I didn't know if it would be worth, because people's power was out for so long, I didn't know if it would be worth putting that together and helping that kind of a project out. So that's all I was thinking.
Yeah, that's one of the efforts we're looking into. Is we'd like to get rid of it anyway. If it could go to that type of a beneficial use, that'd be great.
Okay, thanks.
Biomass, that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be best, but you know.
Could you explain a little bit on the buffer zone? We put extra water in to keep a buffer. If water is going to be tight, have you reviewed the amount of buffer you
Water is tight. We're in conservation. I don't know what it is today, but generally we keep 30 to 50 CFS of a buffer. In dry times, we do reduce that as much as possible. So Charlie, I'll just give you an example. I think this is what you're talking about. If our minimum flows at the Marysville gauge are 500, we would run somewhere between 520 to 550. We'll be looking at minimizing that as much as possible. I haven't looked at it specifically today.
No, I mean, not today, but the idea, I thought it was a 5-day moving average.
Yeah, one of our regulatory requirements is a 5-day average, and one of them is real-time instantaneous.
Any more questions? Okay, we'll move on to board member reports. Director Hasty.
Yeah, traffic was terrible today, but I was in Anaqua, our drought task force meeting this morning, and I hear Willie give the report, and you feel a little bit guilty because the system is really different than the years past. That everybody's in a really different world, and so Shasta and Trinity are actually very low. Oroville's not bad. I don't think there's anybody better than where we are, and then there's Folsom's not doing too bad, but it is a very dry year. And it's looking like it's not getting better. And and if you're a federal contractor, it's not a good year at all. And so in saying that, we want to make sure that we conserve, that we are really good with our water, because everybody's going to be looking at everybody this year. And so I just want to say, conserve as much as you can, because the reality is this is going to be a year where they're really different. Everybody's going to have a really different water year potentially. And so we have to be really careful about how we're perceived. And so I think we need to conserve as much as we possibly can and help other areas when we can.
Thank you. Director Matthews?
I'd like to add to that the perception that if we have water and we bank it and don't use it, are we being classified as possibly a hoarder? And I use the example, last year we carried a lot of water over because we were concerned about temperature, fish, and licensing. I think we ought to continually look at both that way of looking at it and also helping out the rest of the state.
Thank you, Charlie. Director Fletcher? Okay. Director Vasquez? Director Blazer?
Nothing today.
Director Fuhrer? And I have nothing as well. So next up, we have closed session as listed on the agenda. Does anyone need a few-minute break before closed session, or are we good? Okay, we're good. So we'll move into closed session.
Okay, thank you.
Recording stopped.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.